What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with a little bit of commentary about Destiny 2, specifically the newly released DLC expansion, Beyond Light. And as the title of the video suggests, you guys probably already know kind of how I feel about this latest release from Bungie. We're going to get into it a little bit here. If you have not played Beyond Light yet, or done the new raid, or looked through any of the new lore that came out with this expansion, you may want to wait and watch this video later, as there are going to be minor spoilers for some pretty major plot points that occur during this expansion. And I just wanted to kind of say that ahead of time, but just to kind of give you my overall thoughts on this real quick in case you do wind up not wanting to have spoilers. Basically, we're just looking at more of the same from Bungie here. This is kind of the same rinse and repeat. Very little content. You're going to wind up just, grinding bounties over and over and over again after you've already, gone through the initial 5 or 6 hours of getting through the new quote-unquote campaign that they put in with Beyond Light. Personally, don't believe this is a $40 expansion. I think the price tag should have been more around $20 because there really is not a lot of stuff to do. And they took away a lot of content as well with the content vault, which we will talk about a bit later. But yeah, just my general opinion right off the bat is that this is definitely not a $40 expansion. And if you're someone like me who took about a 6-month break from the game, coming back hoping it would have changed and it's no longer just a pointless bounty grind that feels like a job, unfortunately that hasn't changed at all. So that said, let's go ahead and kind of get into my thoughts and general overview of this new expansion, Beyond Light. So what is going on with Destiny 2 right now? Story-wise, the game is in an amazing spot. I will say that. The lore is really awesome right now. The writers have done a really good job with all the stuff going on with Clovis Bray. We're finally starting to get some answers to a lot of the questions we've had for 6 years, going back to the original game on kind of like what's going on with the darkness, what's going on with the Traveler, how did all this stuff happen, how did the collapse happen initially. We're starting to see a lot of that kind of come together. We're getting some answers on the Exo Stranger we met very briefly in the first game, so a lot of stuff lore-wise is going on that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, you can pretty much read all of that on the Ishtar Collective for free. You don't really need to pay $40 to play the expansion just to get the new lore stuff, but it's still kind of cool that they put a lot of this in-game. But with Beyond Light, basically the pyramids have wiped out some of the major planets that were in Destiny 2. You can no longer go to Mars or Io, and Titan, I believe, is the other, Mercury as well. So all those locations are no longer available to go to play. They have been vaulted in the content vault and eliminated or disappeared by the pyramids and their darkness power, which still hasn't quite been explained yet. But those are areas you can no longer go to. Oddly enough, you can still play Crucible and Gambit on some maps from those areas, so that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the Cosmodrome is back. I did a separate video kind of detailing that, on how you can go back and play the original Cosmodrome, which unfortunately is not even in its full form. And also there's a lot of continuity errors with the design of it. But that's why I was kind of disappointed. They took out so much content that you could play before and didn't really add much back in other than the Cosmodrome, and you now have Europa, which is the new destination, and a pretty cool new destination. It looks amazing. The art team, as usual, did a great job. That's one thing I always give credit to with Destiny is the art, the music, fantastic. The sci-fi lore in this game is amazing. I just wish more of it was featured narratively in-game, but visually this game is absolutely incredible at this point. Europa is a decent-sized zone. I would say it's probably comparable to maybe Mars. So it's not huge. It's not too small. There's plenty of little areas you can kind of go in and explore. There's a couple of lost sectors. And again, I just don't feel like this is a $40 content-wise expansion. I mean, you think about what we got. A lot of people say, oh, you can't compare it with Forsaken, but I'm going to compare it with Forsaken, which was similarly priced, and you got the Tegel Shore, and you got the Dreaming City, which the Dreaming City is probably one of the greatest zones they've ever designed in this game, with just all this extra stuff to find and do. And you know, just in my opinion, Europa doesn't quite live up to the amount of content we got in prior expansions for a similar price point. So I'll just get that out of the way. Right there, still, it's a really cool zone. We get to explore a lot of the stuff going on with Clovis Bray, who was a big name mentioned in the original Destiny, and of course leading up to this with the Warmind expansion with Anna Bray. We found out that the Exo Stranger is actually her sister Elsie, so that's pretty cool. That's going to play big into the lore. In this expansion, you do find out a ton of stuff about the Exo Stranger, about Clovis Bray. Here's one of the big spoilers. The original Clovis Bray, who put himself into an Exo, is actually Banshee 44. His memory's been wiped. He doesn't know who he is. So basically, the gun dealer with amnesia you've been dealing with in the tower for the last 6 years is Clovis Bray, basically the leader of the Golden Age, who did all this unethical stuff and these crazy experiments, brought about the collapse pretty much in the darkness to the solar system. Is Banshee 44, the guy that's been giving you all those exotic weapon quests and selling you guns and stuff. So that is the first huge spoiler that kind of comes out of this. You find that out through some of the lore books, and if you've read anything on Ishtar Collective. But it's pretty crazy stuff here, guys, with the lore in this game. You find out basically some stuff that happened in Shadowkeep. You know, they found this darkness artifact on the moon. You know, Clovis Bray brought it you know, on board his ship and was talking to it, and basically it told him to come to Europa. There's like Vex gates and all this stuff, so he finds this Vex gate, uses the darkness, uses the Vex radiolarian fluid to make Exos, basically. So Exos are made from darkness, they're made from Vex parts, and he basically did all these unethical experiments and wound up attracting the darkness to our system and caused the collapse, and just all this crazy stuff goes on. So it's pretty cool to see, and I apologize, my cat is, as usual, trying to get into the video, so we will try to get her out of here. But basically, tons of cool lore going on. A lot of stuff with the Exos, a lot of stuff with the Vex, a lot of stuff with Clovis Bray. But like I said before, you don't need to pay $40 to find all that out. You can just go to a website and read it. Expansion-wise, you're going to be going up against the Fallen. Aramis is the main villain here. She is a Kell that comes to Europa trying to rebuild the Fallen using the darkness, and they are basically wanting to strike back against the Guardians and the last city. And they basically are trying to make a deal with the pyramids and the darkness in order to get this new stasis power, which they can use to then destroy the Guardians. So you're basically going through, you're communing with the darkness again, and you're gaining this new stasis subclass, which you use to fight back against the Fallen. It's pretty cool. It's basically like you throw in ice grenades and you can freeze people, and it's a pretty interesting subclass overall. But it's kind of made PvP a bit of a mess, because now you can actually get frozen and stunned, and the last thing really anyone wants to deal with in a PvP game is any type of crowd control, and that's what they brought in. So basically, if you get hit with one of the stasis abilities that freezes you in place, you're pretty much dead. You don't really have much of a chance to fight back. Which kind of makes it annoying, especially when you get into PvP. But that's kind of the general gist of it. You go through about this 5 to 6 hour campaign that, quite honestly, is pretty easy. The max light level on this expansion, I believe, is 1250. And once you get to 1200, which is about the soft cap, it's pretty much a breeze to get through. So you'll hit that pretty quickly just by playing the game, getting some blue drops. It'll get you up close to 1200 pretty quick. And the campaign is just not that difficult. You'll get through it pretty quickly. Like I said, not worth the $40. There's just not enough here to kind of justify that price tag. So, you know, once you get through that, it's kind of, you've got this new stasis power that you're using. You're kind of starting to use the darkness. That's kind of the theme of this whole expansion is, you know, Guardians, we have to start using the weapons of our enemies to kind of fight back, which narratively doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because toward the end of the last expansion, the Traveler woke back up. It started to heal itself. The light is basically as strong as it's ever been, but yet for some reason we need to go and get darkness. So we'll see how that all plays out, I guess. Of course, unfortunately, in future expansions. But once you get through the campaign, it's basically back to the same old run bounties, go find stuff, turn in bounties, level up your season pass. You can do stuff for Varix. The Exo Stranger's got some stuff for you to do. Most recently, the Season of the Hunt came out, which is basically Osiris and Crow. You guys remember Uldren? We spent an entire expansion going after Uldren. He got resurrected by a ghost. He is back as a guardian now, with a little bit of a twist. He's under the control of Spider on the Tangled Shore, and he's actually put like a bomb in his ghost. So if Crow tries to go anywhere and gets too far away from Spider's influence, his ghost will explode and he'll explode. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, but basically you have one quest where you go to the moon and to save Osiris, because unfortunately Osiris's ghost Segura has been killed off screen, of course. You won't find, that's another kind of a spoiler, you won't find that out unless you read the lore outside of the game. So Osiris now no longer has a ghost, so he cannot be resurrected, which is kind of crazy because he's one of the greatest guardians that, you know, we have in the game and the lore. And I kind of wonder if that means they're going to eventually write him out or something, or they can't afford his voice actor anymore and he's eventually going to die off as part of some you know, future expansion, who knows. But they've kind of set that up where his ghost is gone and he no longer has his ghost, so you kind of have to deal with that. And then you go and you meet Crow. So basically, you're preparing for the arrival of Xivu Arath, who is another hive god who we're going to fight another hive god for the 14th time at this point. You kind of wonder why the hive keep trying. We've beat them so badly so many times, but they keep, you know, trying to do stuff with us. But we're not quite getting to Savathun yet. We're now dealing with Xivu Arath, and that's what Season of the Hunt is kind of focusing on. You have to go around to the planets and do these little public events with the hive artifacts. It's kind of similar to some of the Nightmare Hunt stuff that was in the game already. But again, you have this artifact that you have to level up. You've got this thing with Crow that you have to level up, kind of similar to the Warmind bunkers that you had with Rasputin. And it's just the same stuff over and over again. And it just gets so monotonous after about a week. I mean, I just don't really want to log in and play anymore because all I'm doing, going to planets, doing bounties. There's nothing immersive. There's nothing narrative that's fun to do anymore. I don't know. It's just the same old thing. It's like rinse and repeat. And I really wonder if this is just the content we're going to keep getting from Bungie at this point, because they don't have Activision with them anymore, you know, with that nice open wallet to be able to create whatever kind of content they wanted to. So the split with Activision is proving to be very interesting for Bungie in general, because it just doesn't feel like they have either the desire or the money anymore to actually put out decent content that doesn't feel like work. So just kind of annoying at this point that this game, just again, it just turns into just a massive bounty grind. You're just going and doing the same stuff over and over and over again, maybe to get 1 or 2 light level points higher every time you get on to play. The progression just really doesn't feel all that meaningful. Now, fortunately, they did just bring out the new raid, which takes place in the Deepstone Crypt on Europa. Again, with some stuff with the Exos and the Fallen. Pretty cool, although they do bring back a villain that's been used in this game about 4 times already. I won't even get into that, but kind of lazy there. But the raid, as usual, is very good. That's the one thing Bungie has always done well with in Destiny and Destiny 2, is the raids are always exceptional. Good, enjoyable time. I know some people are saying this raid was too easy, but you know, it was fun. It was enjoyable. It's a great piece of content. It always is. Again, it's not worth $40 just to get a good raid, but that is probably the saving grace of this expansion so far, other than the lore, is the raid was very well done. I won't spoil it too much in case you guys still haven't played it yet. Plus, there's all kinds of guide videos and stuff out there you can find on that already, but really cool experience to run the raid, you know, find out a little bit more about what's going on inside the big Clovis Bray facility. So that was fun. The raid was good. All the raids are always good. And supposedly the Vault of Glass will be making a return at some point during this season, I guess, during the next 60 days or 90 days, however much time is left in this season. So that probably means that they're going to bring back Venus. And I wonder if that means Venus will be kind of like the Cosmodrome and cut down a bit, or if it's going to be the full thing we had in the first game. Who knows? I'm not really sure how this content vault is going to work. And I guess that's one thing we could touch on here just before I finish up, is I'm not really too sure what Bungie's going for here with this, the content vault and the weapon sunsetting. And if you guys weren't aware, they basically said when this expansion comes out, we're going to sunset all these weapons and armor pieces that you guys have accumulated over the time of playing the game. So if you go into your vault, or even if you log in on your Guardian, you'll see some of your weapons have kind of got like this little grayed out thing on it, which basically means it can no longer be used. It can no longer be infused. You can't get any higher power on it. So it's basically not usable anymore within the game. It'll be stuck like down at 1,000 power while you're using 1,200 or 1,250 power. The exotics were one of the few exceptions to that, but a lot of stuff that you've, expansion weapons you've earned from prior expansions, weapons that you might like or have a favorite, a lot of that stuff got eliminated. And a lot of people, when they found out this was going to happen, there was a pretty big uproar in the community, and basically everybody told Bungie, don't do this. It's a terrible idea. They said, don't sunset the armor, don't sunset the weapons. Vaulting all this content we have to play is not a good idea. Well, of course, what does Bungie do? They listen to the community? No. And they go forward with it. So, of course, the new expansion comes out, Beyond Light, and there's no loot. There's like 5 or 6 new weapons you can get and a couple pieces of armor, and it's all very bland. It's all very boring. The seasonal armor has been kind of lackluster, quite honestly, in its design, and the seasonal weapons kind of the same thing. So it's back to square one with Bungie. Is like they're like, we're just going to take, it's a loot-based game. We want you to get cool loot and have a cool-looking Guardian and have these cool guns, but we're going to take all that away because we want you to play the game the way we want you to play it. We don't want you to have an enjoyable player experience. We want you to play the game the way we want you to play it. So they took a lot of those weapons away, and then they put some of them back in, technically new versions, but they're just reskins, and it's like, well, why did you take away our old one that we liked, that was perfectly good, to put it, make us re-earn the same thing over again? It's just kind of like lazy recycling content once again. And so, like I said, huge community uproar the first week the game is out. So what does Bungie do? Well, they come back and they say, oh, we didn't realize that sunsetting was going to be this big of a problem. We're going to put all the stuff back. We're going to put stuff back in the game. You're going to get all the Warmind weapons we're going to put back in. We're going to put some of the older stuff back in. We didn't realize you guys get so bad about it. And it's like, wait a minute. People told you for months that this was a bad idea, and you just didn't listen. So, again, there's a lot of issues within Bungie where it's like they just never seem to be able to understand what the community wants. They just never seem to be able to get the pulse of the community. They get told things. They've got forums, they've got Reddit, they've got all their content creators that kind of give them feedback, and it's like they just don't listen to any of it. And I'm not sure at this point what to do. All I know is that this is a game I've been playing since it came out, since the alpha. You guys know me. I've loved Destiny. I've hated Destiny. I used to be one of Bungie's most vocal critics, to the point most of their developers have blocked me on Twitter because they just can't stand taking criticism from anyone. I've kind of gotten indifferent over the last year or two to it, where I'm just kind of like, you know what, Destiny is what it is. It's a game with great gunplay and great mechanics, really solid raids. It's got amazing lore. It's an incredible sci-fi universe. It's very hard to get immersed in it anymore because the game just feels too much like work. You get a new expansion that comes out, you get maybe 5 or 6 hours out of it that's enjoyable, and then you're just grinding the same stuff over and over and over again, and it just feels like a job at some point. Other games have the same model, but they at least make the gameplay enjoyable enough and the content enjoyable enough to where you don't really kind of feel that whole it's work type deal with it. So I just don't know anymore with Bungie. I played Shadowkeep, and the same thing happened. I got burned out after about 2 or 3 weeks. I took a 6-month break from Destiny, and I came back for Beyond Light, because at this point I'm kind of invested. It's like, I want to see what happens with the story. I want to see what happens with the lore. I was really excited, all the pyramids and the darkness and all this stuff showing up, and a lot of the questions I had from the first game, stuff is starting to get answered, but I don't know. It's the same old thing again. We're back into the bounty grind, and it's not enjoyable. And I'm not sure if this is just going to turn into a game where people tune out for 3 months, 4 months at a time, come back, play the expansion for 2 weeks, and quit again. That's really not a good way to retain a solid player base. Destiny still survives. It still manages to be one of the top games played, but I just don't know anymore. It's getting harder and harder to get excited to come back to this each time they make a change or they bring out a new expansion. And there's, they've already released the roadmap of the game expansions out through like 2022 before we're finally going to kind of get some kind of resolution to the darkness arriving and the pyramids and all the stuff that's going on. So we got a long ways to go through this, and at some point Bungie is just going to have to figure out how to make this game feel meaningful to play again, like it was toward the end of the first game, when you had so much to do and just so much enjoyable stuff to play. So overall, like I said, guys, Beyond Light, beyond disappointing, just more of the same from Bungie. And if you've kind of fallen out of love with having to do all the grind and everything, this is not an expansion you're going to enjoy much beyond the first 5 or 6 hours in the new campaign. and the new raid. Those are the highlights, basically. You get the campaign's pretty cool, very cool location with Europa. Very cool new raid to play, but again, this is stuff that you're going to play it a couple times and just be like, all right, well, let's go run bounties again. Let's do our 20, 30 bounties every day and hope we get a level up in our season pass and manage to get one section of our new artifact finished or whatever. Just, I don't know, just doesn't feel like it's worth it anymore. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Just wanted to kind of give you my thoughts on the new Destiny 2 expansion. If you guys have been playing it, let me know what you think so far. If you're enjoying it, if you're disappointed, kind of like I am, what your hopes are for the future with Bungie, or if you think they're just kind of done at this point and just, like I feel like they're just mailing it in to make a quick, easy buck, because they've got they got a lot of us hooked on it. We've been playing the game for 6 years. We feel invested, so we just kind of spend the money and then quit playing after 3 weeks. So it's unfortunate. Anyways, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I will see you again next time.